All right, guys, what's up? Thank you so much for coming out. My name is Groshin Krzyzewski. At Vandal Catholic, what I do is the Spirit and Life talks, like Hayden said, that are more catechetically focused, AMAs, class. This year it's Christian Classics reading group, has been fall and spring. But what I'm really kind of always obsessed with, and I thank you for your attendance at these nights, these HIPPO lectures, is trying to bring back some level of import to Catholic fiction. I'm constantly whining about, complaining about, Flannery O'Connor, Walker Percy. We don't do that stuff anymore. We should. So the HIPPO lectures for a long time, as you know, having come to these, are kind of fiction-based, bombastic, absurd, whatever. This is the Lost History of Pullman. We're on part 4. To sum up as briefly as possible, right? In the first 3 episodes, this Professor Harold Bly Tornado at the fictional University of Pullman has discovered an entire collection of archival material underneath the Bill Chipman Trail in Pullman and Moscow, and he's recording this book, and he's being bothered by Allie, the girl at the Bruised Books front desk, and she has 2 friends in tow, Allie and Harper. Her name's spelled with a Y, her friend is Allie, Allie. And there's a double thing as you start part 4, where Allie and Harper are getting all the kind of sorority girls to come and look at Harry and all this kind of thing, and he's going to have to find more and more time to actually record this, and we go back to the story, the Lost History of Pullman itself. Tonight's part 4 is on the golden age of Pullman. Teleportation, talking animals, flying, all that kind of stuff. Welcome to the Lost History of Pullman. Dr. Bly Tornado will tell us all about this. Wow, a woman said, breaking my train of thought and forcing me to once again pause and put down the recording. This is becoming extremely obnoxious. So, Allie said, this is Harper, pointing to the woman who had just spoken, and then behind her to a woman looking down, shy and down. And this is, like Allie. Hi, Harper said, immediately going full face blush. Hi, I said, nice to meet you. Harper started giggling uncontrollably. And you're also Allie, right? I said to the woman standing behind Allie. She looked as if she'd seen a ghost. She tried to speak, visibly gulped, and then finally managed a squeaky, uh-huh. Sorry, Harry, Allie said. We just don't see many guys that, look like you. I showed Allie and Harper your photo, and they were all like, in real life, wow. Oh, wow. So, I just think that seeing you in real life is, well, wow. I didn't say anything in response to that. Harper then said, can I touch your hand? Is that okay? I stood up and extended my hand to her. She took it, and in what must have been a quick onset, a mere second's transition, felt her palm go from cool to warm and sweaty. Hey, that's not fair, Allie said, joking, I think. I met Harry first. I found him. I should have been able to touch him. Harry, can I, please have a hug? I obliged and felt her sink deeply into my arms. I wanted to pull away, but she clutched tighter, nuzzling her nose into my chest. It was all very strange, hugging this girl from the front desk at Bruce Books while standing in an aisle I've been laying down in for quite a while. She finally pulled away, looked me in the eyes, and said with what to me was an extremely unnecessary, terribly hyperbolic affectation, thank you. Do you guys mind if I lay back down and get back to my research? Research, Harper said. What? I told you, Harry's an extremely, extremely important person, Allie said. He's look, first so brave, for being unafraid to work on his mental health. He's also impossibly gorgeous. But then, look, you don't just choose a bookstore to be in. Never. You do not. No, unless you really love books and you're super smart. Research, Harper asked again. So you're like a scientist or a Nobel Prize person? No, I said. I'm a professor at UP Pullman. I told you, Allie said to Harper and Allie. Harry's just so committed to his work. He's like a genius. Sorry, I'm trying to keep these thoughts in my mind, but yeah, I said. So nice to meet you, Harper. Allie, but can I please get back to it, please? I'm in a good frame of mind. I just need to keep this momentum going. You understand, right? Totally, H, Allie said. Yes, you need to get to work and be left alone. That's so raw and masculine of you. I get it. I love that about you. But could you first explain to Allie and Harper what you're doing? I know whatever it is, it's super alpha. Yeah. Sure, I said, having made my way back down to a sitting position with Ames on soon lying down, pressing play yet again. I'm writing a secret history about the area, something that has been purposely suppressed for reasons I have still not been able to understand fully. It's a crazy long story. I'm about halfway through. I'm recording on this. holding it up for them to see. So to get all my thoughts down on paper, so to speak. My plan is then to transcribe my recording by hand and compile it all into a cohesive book. Tell you what, I think, looking at Allie, I'm going to dedicate this book to you. To me, Allie said, gasping as she put both her hands over her mouth. Oh, Harry, you don't know how happy you've made me. I feel like I've waited my entire life for, oh wow, really to dedicated to me? Yes, I said, no doubt. But so could I please get back to my work? Why don't the three of you go into town for a cup of coffee? I heard Daily Grind is reopening on Main Street. You know they have the best iced and blended coffees. Oh, Harry, Allie said, jumping off the floor. You have the best ideas in the whole world. You are a genius. The three girls left. But before I pressed play, I thought to myself, I had already departed the romantic mystery thriller cookbooks aisle for the at-home workout, automotive, and gardening books plus more aisle, and Allie and the girls had found me no problem. I couldn't risk more distractions and interruptions to my work, so I got up, looked both ways before leaving the aisle to make sure they were gone, and they were gone. Then I walked back to the back of the store, back towards where there's another entry/exit door, and found the most secure place I could to continue my work. I locked the bathroom door behind me, sat down, laid down, and pressed play. Chapter 4. Pullman's second and more glorious golden age, 1865 to 1887. On August 2nd, 1865, Butch Kugarius VIII went to the Benedictine monastery on Pioneer Hill to respond to a summons from the 4 monks of the Pullman Hills. All of them, OSB naturally, had served since 1356 as something like the Catholic Curia of Pullman. By 1865, they had been the chief religious advisors to the first High Consul, and then beginning with Butch Kugarius IV, the king, for 509 years. The vast majority of these above ground publicly acknowledged, with only the drill button protectorate forcing them briefly underground. The monks were equals, but the monk of Sunnyside Hill designated vicar first sage to king and country, a first among equals, if you will. Butch Kugarius had inquired at the monastery in late July with a general question focused on disparate parts. A, we, Pullman Nation, have so much money. B, I want to be a good steward of this. C, I want above all to be holy, for I know we're all created to know, love, and serve God in this world, so as to be happy within the next. D, I want, God help me, to be a truly holy king, who loves God above all and his neighbor as himself. E, so what do I do? / what can I do? What am I to do? The vicar first sage told the king he'd be called to the monastery once the monks had completed their prayers and fasting, beseeching Almighty God for answer to this most pressing of questions. August 2nd came, he was called, he arrived. The vicar first sage, monk of Sunnyside Hill, spoke thus. The king was to seek and find his answer in Christ's prescription for perfection as told to the rich young man in St. Matthew's Gospel, chapter 19, to wit, if you wish to be perfect, first keep the commandments, then second, sell what you have, give to the poor, third, finally, come and follow me. Follow him, Jesus Christ our King. In something of a perhaps unconscious imitation of St. Anthony of Egypt, who heard a sermon about storing up treasure in heaven where neither moth can dilapidate nor thief steal away, Butch Kugarius said yes immediately. The monk of Sunnyside Hill handed the king a piece of paper on which was written what he must do. He read it once, no more, and once again said yes. First fruits were given to building a ton of Catholic churches, large and small, throughout Pullman and beyond its borders, the charity extending to large portions of the modern-day Intermountain West, American desert Southwest, and the California coast. Second, a large amount of donations were given to American building projects. Third and finally, much was given to all the citizens of Pullman. In modern parlance, quote, joblessness was completely eliminated, and even the most menial tasks received a family living wage. The top down in the Royal Treasury wealth Pullman had in 1865 was, by early 1866, well distributed throughout all the Commonwealth. There is no doubt that reading between the lines, and especially into the footnotes, both Rerum Novarum, 1891, and Quadragesimo Anno, 1931, have Second Golden Age Pullman, 1865 through 87, in mind, as the prototype of a third way beyond the capitalism versus communism dichotomy, just and equitable, truly Christian Catholic social teaching Beau ideal society. 2 more things, though, the monk of Sunnyside Hill said immediately after the king consented to carry it out. Never forget the divine wisdom found in St. Mark's Gospel, chapter 8. What profited man to gain the whole world and suffer the loss of his soul? Furthermore, my kingdom, Christ said, is not of this world. The goal is not earthly prosperity. Wicked and putrid are the counsels of men who make God's material blessings the sole measure of interior and integral holiness. Truly, a man can be poor and holy, poor and evil, rich and holy, rich and evil. Seek first the kingdom of God, as you do, good king, and all else will be added unto you. So, of these two things, the monk said, the first is that God will add unto you, unto Pullman. Sometime in 1867, 2 angels will visit you and bestow some of the most incredible things ever seen upon this city, these people. I will say no more. Only know incredible things. Second, in 1887, 20 years later, on a day you do not know, Pullman will be utterly destroyed, and its memory at least temporarily wiped from the face of the earth. No, O sire, the monk of Sunnyside Hill said, there is nothing you can do, no amount of public penance in sackcloth and ash, to forestall or forego a calamity foreordained in those high heavens where what is decreed by the King of Kings is, must, and will be, and cannot be otherwise. But no, the monk of Sunnyside Hill said, this is not a punishment from God, this is not a chastisement. Unless a seed falls to the earth and dies, it cannot be reborn to new life. The great cataclysm will be a great blessing to many in Pullman. Many a good man and good woman swept away before their time, but upwards to heaven. Without this, perhaps it would be otherwise. Few will see it as any good thing, and certainly evil forces everywhere circle your kingdom, displeased above all that you dare render to God first his just deserts. Now knowing, go, the monk told the king. Go, carry out your holy duties. A year before this event is to transpire, you will give a speech and warn your people and give anyone who wants to leave a chance to leave. But, my friend, your highness, the monk said, now for the first time smiling, enjoy the next 20 years. Do not forget to stop and enjoy the wonders you will see. The angels came in 1867 as foretold. Those 20 years were a marvel beyond belief if we are to believe the records. No surprise, I believe the records. I spent more than 4 months in room 6, the Rainy Park Pool Underground Archive, looking intently, specifically at the 426 pages of first-hand documentation of this era, the end of which led me into room 8's golden case that also deals specifically with the second golden era. There is enough microfilm there to fill an Egyptian pyramid from the inside out, bottom to top. 4 months, and then just last year, 8 weeks more specifically, I have spent, Harold Bly Tornado, on the second golden age. So here it is, condensed to the best of my ability. First, the entire underground archive was built during this time. It began in 1870, finished in 77. Fortifications, Cold War shelter-like fortifications, reinforcements, were added everywhere throughout the underground labyrinth in 1881 and 1882 in preparation for the coming cataclysm. And owing to the conditions of the archives today, it was very well done. Without this foresight by Butch Krugarius VIII, the lost history of Pullman would be truly irrevocably lost. Now, without any numbering or categorizing, or even rhyme or reason, here are the wonders of this golden age. One of the gifts the angels gave the city was human flight and teleportation. Like any good king, Butch Krugarius would not ask of his subjects anything he himself would not do. Told by the angels, quote, you can fly now. It's as easy as jumping up and flapping your hands. Do note you must be at least 20 feet off the ground to initiate the process. He gladly and eagerly mounted the spire of a 50-foot building and jumped off and started flapping his arms like wings, and soon he was flying. The deafening cheers were only matched by cries of shock and awe. Human flight never came close to the achievements of airplanes and rockets. The longest someone could maintain flight for was 5 minutes. One man, giddy, go get it, yep, go get it, once flew for 6 minutes and 45 seconds across downtown, a few times at an average altitude of about 125 feet, average speed 15.9 miles per hour. Impressive or not, it was irresistible. By the early 1870s, everyone in Pullman was flying everywhere. Grandmothers would fly from their home to downtown, shop for groceries, have the bags loaded onto their backs like the common student backpacks of the 20th century, and fly on home. How to Fly classes became the #1 sports program offered by the Pullman Recreation Center. Half-flying daycares became a huge hit in town. The morning was spent teaching children academic fundamentals, the afternoon flying. The limit on flight time, to be clear, was 1 direct flight. Having completed the distance, all one had to do was land, rest for a few minutes, as if resting in between sets of a bench press or deadlift, and then resume flight once more. Health-conscious businessmen, professors, lawyers of the modern era have become popular for their habit of biking to and from work. So it was for flying in second golden age Pullman. One man every single day flew to Colfax and back 15 miles, just landing and resetting along the way. Teleportation was done by stepping inside a proto-phone booth and pressing 2 buttons and pulling 1 lever. 2 booths were painted red. The booths were painted red with white polka dots. They were impossible to miss. The first button locked the door. The second button produced a screen where one selected destination and desired time of arrival. Destinations were only within the borders of Pullman Nation. More on that soon. To 2 other red polka dot booths. The fastest one could teleport, the process's particulars, especially, quote, and deconstructed particularization, whatever that means, has been completely lost to time and not available anywhere that I can find in all my research. But the fastest one could teleport was 19.4 seconds. For a price of $4.77, a person could travel from downtown Pullman City to, for example, the Oregon coast, where a booth was stationed less than a mile from modern-day Pacific City County, Tillamook, in 19.4 seconds. The 3 other options were 2 minutes, $2.26, 3 minutes and 40 seconds, $1.99, and 7 minutes, 17 seconds, the slowest possible teleportation time, costing $1.99. Option 4 was fine and good when one wanted to travel on a budget. Imagine today, less than 8 minutes to go from downtown Pullman to the Oregon coast, perhaps north into Canada, and less for $1. 99 cents in 1875, the height of teleportation in Pullman would today cost you almost $29. Remarkable. $29 for a 7-minute trip covering 445 miles, Pullman to Pacific City, that today by car takes one 7 hours and 25 minutes. It costs much more when you factor in the price of gas. Of course, more well-off Pullmanites in time of Butch Kugarius VIII could cover those same 445 miles in 19.4 seconds, if willing to pay what in today's money comes out to $140 a ticket. Once more, imagine, wow, $140 to some a bargain plane ticket for a plane covering 445 miles, again in 19.4 seconds. Commercial air travel today cruises at 500 miles per hour. In 1875, the first-class teleportation ticket from Pullman to Pacific City flew at more than 84,000 miles per hour. Abuses of the system existed, however, some of them just ridiculous. One man, a diary from his spring 1882 recounts, found himself married to the stereotypical, quote, nagging ball and chain albatross wife. These are his words. I'm just repeating what he said. I would never say this. I would never call a wife ball and chain. I would never even say that. He said, nagging ball and chain albatross wife. Again, his words. To escape her constant, quote, henpecked barbs and honeydew demands, this man, ostensibly in downtown with his wife, completely disappeared for an entire day. Last seen at noon, only found sometime after 9 p.m. By buying a slew of 99-cent fourth-class teleportation tickets from the booth on Main Street to different booths all on the 4 Pullman Hills. Walking what would have taken the man a few minutes, yet teleporting at the slowest rate meant, for all intents and purposes, he was just constantly gone, reappearing at different booths every 7 minutes and 17 seconds. The story had a happy ending. The man wrote that he regretted pulling this prank on his wife, and she, simply happy to have him home, stopped nagging him so much, and resolved to be kinder in the day-to-day mutual striving and struggle called marriage. Time travel was less successful than teleportation, and shut down by order of the king in October of 1878, having been in operation for 1 decade. The first time-traveling ports in Pullman opened in March of 1868. As for teleportation, booths were employed, blue-colored, but boarding passes were issued at a much more selective rate. Rather than pay a fee, one had to apply for a time-traveling passport, and even the most well-constructed applications were usually approved no sooner than 6 months. Those allowed in time travel were 4 groups. A, the king and his court on official royal business. B, researchers, both in the academic professoriate as well as students. C, national defense analytical assessment teams. And D, field ball all-stars. As one can see, there is no time-traveling tourism allowed, unlike in the case of teleportation. Field ball, Pullman's national pastime, was so popular, it was seen as, quote, an allowable plum of the profession to be given a lifetime time travel passport if a player reached the highest level of excellence in the game. The MVP of the 1872 season, I'm a little teapot short and stout, cried when receiving his passport, telling the media he had gotten into the sport primarily for this reason. It wasn't a dream of a Pullman World Field Ball title that drove him daily, but time travel. Nonetheless, field ballers exempted, one could not joyride the system simply for the fun of it. Here's how it worked. One stepped into the booth, buttoned and levered the selections, but in addition to only being able to travel within the boundaries of Pullman Nation, as with teleportation, one could not go back further in time than 5 days. Consider, 5 minutes back in time would seem to us a miracle. Imagine down this rabbit hole. You left your house at noon, drove 5 minutes out of town, and then boom, right back to your house. The clock reading noon. Once again, that would be crazy. So 5 days is no small thing. Yet one should cool his proverbial jets, lest he think time travel in Pullman's second golden age meant walking with the dinosaurs, observing Alexander conquer the Achaemenid Empire, sitting on the banks of the Rubicon to watch Julius Caesar cross it, or attending the first Mass at Notre Dame in Paris upon its 100-year plus completion of the construction process. No, 5 days, only backwards. One could not travel even a second ahead, only back. 5 days max. The time travel mechanism, built by the two angels, had a built-in anti-butterfly slap system, ABSS. Time travel theorists are aware of the so-called butterfly effect, where a man travels back in time, accidentally squashes a butterfly, something thought insignificant, only to have it alter the entire the course of events going forward. Because in domino fashion, this led to this and that, and then to that, and this and that, and so on. Traveling back in time, Pullman was a powerless experience in the dictionary definition of terms, thanks to the ABSS. One's arrival back in time was similar to watching an old home movie on VHS. One was not permitted, no matter what, to actually do anything. And in the VHS example, one could not literally enter the video on the screen and do anything. You'd go back, actually be there. Imagine walking on Main Street 3 days earlier. You're walking, you're there, you're really there, but you cannot do anything, thanks to the ABSS. The only thing gained, well, beyond the obvious surreal experience, the reality of having time traveled, was observational, hence the crucial intelligence gathering import to groups A through C. The ABSS was a real-time monitoring system that nonetheless tracked the movements of the traveler in real time. If he or she even tried to do something, they were immediately transported back to their booth in time of origin, had their passport confiscated, and a 3-year time-traveling ban enforced. This is for first-time offenders. A second offense meant a lifetime ban. This before the poetic justice butterfly punishment. Offenders were strapped down on the sidewalks, all could see and shame them publicly. Then they were sprayed with a fragrance that drove literal butterflies crazy. Smelling it, they would come like locusts, coming in droves and flapping their wings as hard as possible, create a full body. I'm being tickled all over so completely I can't move. No, it tickles so bad. No, make it stop, please stop. Sensation for the violator, still strapped to the sidewalk. The punishment lasted for 17 minutes and 17 seconds. The ABSS had an Achilles heel glitch in quite the literal sense that led to the time travel ban by order of the king in October of 1878. Teenagers traveling under the Category B students' permission found that if they moved stuff around their feet, it went undetected by the ABSS. And so pranks almost immediately became very popular. High school students would travel back in time mere minutes, sometimes seconds, and place stumbling blocks on the sidewalks in front or behind people. They'd return and watch that person who had previously seen nothing but an unobstructed path in front of them trip or fall, and failing that, look around dumbfounded at the virtual materialization of something that just moments ago was not there. The pranks varied in terms of objects used, but without fail, if you moved something around with your feet, it got past the ABSS alarm. It was not tripped. And the offender not sent back to the president, and of course, not receiving the butterfly punishment. It got so out of hand, Butch Gregarious VIII had to personally issue an edict, not trusting those in the experimental travel department to handle the matter properly. Another thing that I found in the course of my research relates to animal speech. Legend has it animals speak only once a year, every Christmas Eve. In Golden Age, Pullman animals began speaking just about the very moment the first people started flapping their arms and flying. The curious thing was the diversity of tongues they were granted permission to use. Beavers in Paradise Creek spoke German. Crows, by and large, spoke French and Persian. I know this from going over a treasure trove of crow legal proceedings that took place in the late 1870s, that crow lawyers preferred French for its clarity and precision. But outside the courtroom, especially when composing poetry and ballads, they liked Farsi, Persian. The most common language amongst the animals of Old Pullman was, curiously, Icelandic. Curious because there was a time in the 1870s the majority of Icelandic speakers in the world were not human. I estimate as high as 71.3%. Butch Gregarious tried to bring order to this new Tower of Babel by enacting a law in 1873 that all residents of Pullman, human, canine, feline, equine, and so on, had to, when engaged in public discourse and commerce, speak either English, Italian, or Latin. By 1877, the English literacy and fluency percentage of Pullman, it cleaned 100% for humans since forever, reached 95.4% with all animals. On an archival trip, I found an interesting freestyle rap-off in downtown Pullman, all in English, dated 2nd September 1880, between a cow and an armadillo, that apparently was the championship and 9th tie-breaking installment between the two, going back to their initial verbal scuffles in late 1877. 4,565 people alongside 3,227 animals attended the showing live. I could not find any mention as to who was declared the winner, but the complete transcript is reprinted here and touched. The C is for cow, A for armadillo, obviously. Note, I have redacted and removed crowd reactions for almost every parry, led the crowd to explode in emotional, oh, and exclamations like, got him, so it's redundant and obnoxious to repeat that here. Also note, at one point, it's not clear when, 5 penguins had to hold back the crowd from storming the stage to lavish props on one of the participants. Such a fever pitch had been attained. Final note, I have censored all profanity for propriety's sake with the asterisk symbol. Cow. Armadillo. No. More like I'm going to pass though. Never going to touch you so grimy, even if I bumped you one timey. Yo, I'd have to shower 500 times though, huh? Armadillo. You're fat. You're fat as asterisk. You're out of shape. You look like absolute asterisk. What the asterisk? You look like asterisk. What the asterisk? You so asterisk, fat asterisk. Cow. The only thing fat in my wallet. Gone since 67. I stunt call it. I'm fat like PHAT. A girl, all that. Armadillo. You fat as asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. You asterisk. Looking like asterisk. You straight up asterisk. Wow, asterisk. Cow. You a disease factory, son. You grimy as a sewer hun. You open your mouth, you cook, done. So look, it's been fun, but your girl gotta run. Your girl gotta run. I run this vibe. I run cities. Armadillo. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. Also asterisk, and asterisk, but not asterisk crows. Asterisk, no. The answer to the question, but so do the residents, human, of Second Golden Age Pullman continue to eat animals after animals gained the ability of self-expression through speech? No, they did not. But a dolphin served as mayor between 1869 and 74, and apparently, according to records, was beloved far and wide by humans and animals alike. No, humans no longer ate animals because that would have been impossibly awkward, obviously. But meat was no longer necessary because the Pullman humans this time, 1867 through 87, gained the ability, digestively speaking, and relative to mastication plus swallowing, of consuming whatever metals they liked. The gigachad swole content, the term for metallic protein, was insane. Men in Golden Age Pullman on average weighed between 285 and 310 pounds, but with body fat percentages as low as 2.2. Apparently, the gigachad swole effects of eating metal were very similar to every performance-enhancing drug combined, but without any bad side effects, and especially good results for mental clarity, restless legs, deep sleep, and anti-depression. Also for getting jacked out of your mind. Also for that. Muscle building, athletic stuff, obviously. The list of other marvels this time is long. I once pulled 3 all-nighters back-to-back, coffee on basically auto-push repeat loop stream. I think I drank 49 cups of coffee past midnight, tallying up the total in sum, reading about, noting, reading. All of the stuff that defined Golden Age Pullman, 1867-87. Here is a brief list, largely presented without comment. And when there are things I do not understand or cannot figure out as to their meaning, they are listed nonetheless as is. Here's the stuff of this time. Perhaps someone will come along, having read this book, and follow these rabbit holes and loose threads as I have, and being more talented than me, be able to make sense of them. Hydraulic grass seed cross-fertilization blue turf. Self-driving lawnmowers. Mechanical man push-start street sweepers. Trentopolin juice for high-powered vehicles. City Lights night powder. 2 yeast wet dough chocolate chip cookies. No melt ice cream. High-density rubber postage stamps. You slap get why yawn. The 81 method. Rottweiler psychotherapy. 2 bounce your boy got them bunnies jump shoes. Binty Jim juniper pills. Yuki cornstalk shutter shakes. Tractor timeout. Self-regulating toilets. Silent toilets. Invisible toilets. Potable Trentopolin juice. When frozen, made the treat Trentopolin pops. Karen's weekly lectures. Big Billy Whaling, the 92 method, a workbook on how to erase the effects of the 81 and 92 method. An art exhibit, 67 toilets in 6'7" square feet of space. Astronauts from second Golden Age Pullman first landed on the moon on April 14, 1871, Mars on August 1st, 1872, Venus 73, Jupiter also that same year, April 1973, Saturn August 26, 1875, Mercury 76, Neptune September 1877, and Pluto on April 27, 1880. Astronaut Hugh J. Easybounce wowed Pullmanites via live stream from Mercury on the sleek Kook Mission 6 by time traveling back and forth between two blue booths. The team, a group of 3 astronauts, the other 2 being Jack Hill and Jill Wenthill, brother and sister, not husband and wife, had brought with them. Jack and Jill then climbed up a steep incline to fetch some water Easybounce had put up there as a goal. But Jack slipped and broke open his helmet, and Jill, taking her eyes off the trace, went tumbling back down the same. Luckily, Jack, the over-anxious triple checker, was wearing a smaller helmet inside his larger, now broken one, so he avoided instant death. And everyone watching back home got a real-life lesson on preparing for even unseen contingencies. Jack got up and basically sprinted back to the landing craft as fast as he could, dehelmeted once inside, and began a treatment Easybounce had prepared, vinegar and brown sugar, for a nasty face bruise. When Jill came in, she did grin to see his paper plaster, but soon the 3 were laughing true, having avoided ultimate disaster. 1886 arrived, and after 19 years of stupendous prosperity and life lived on very real cloud 9, Butch Gregarious broke the news the monk of Sunnyside Hill had told him that fateful August 2nd, 1865 morning. Pullman would be utterly, completely annihilated, and its true memory lost to time in exactly 1 year from now. Anyone who wished to leave and to avoid the fate of the just captain in his ship was free to do so. In fact, the monk himself had told the king that God respected free will so much he did not force anyone to go either to heaven or hell. It was we, certainly aided by grace, without which we could do nothing, that chose our eternal destiny by accepting or rejecting God's gift of redemption and salvation. Grace builds upon nature, yes, even our fallen, wounded nature. Weak indeed, but still free we remained. And so anyone could, the king said, exercise his free will and leave Pullman if he wished to do so, man and animal alike. I regret that I do not have the original copy of Butch Gregarious VIII's August 26, 1886 speech. I cannot find it anywhere in the whole span of all the boxes and all the rooms and all the many library enclaves amidst the entirety of the grand underground archives. All that exists are mentions of the speech, and the most complete account, from which I just recounted to you the above, comes from Grayshine McPointy Swordface, the dolphin who served as Pullman's only non-human mayor, 1869 through 74, answerable only indirectly to the king himself. McPointy Swordface. Thank you.